Alrighty then. That was loud. We're going to restore a Model 25 Plus. As you can see right here, we have the Tulip stands. Very, very hard to come by. We've got a couple of Model 25 Plus speakers there. And right there is the unit itself. Let's have a little peek inside. Yep, there it is. Been meaning to do this for a while. It is sanding season. These cabinets have got to be refreshed, new cloth and what have you. So yeah, stay tuned for more. All right, we're back in the workshop and we're gonna take stock of what we got here with this Model 20. We're gonna take this guy out, which is a Garrard turntable. It's KLH branded, but it's based on the AT6, I think, or was it AT60? Anyway, one of those. It's got its own built-in amplifier and radio. This one is, I believe, FM only. Obviously, there's only one dial. Anyway, we're gonna get that out. We're gonna address a little bit of damage here. We'll see how we work with that. It's kind of come apart there. We'll also address the top surface. That's got to come off, and definitely the front surface. We'll see how we do with the cleanup on the sides. To get it out, as you can see, it all comes from underneath. We've got to get these screws out here. There's the beautiful audio outputs right there. So yeah, caution, high voltage inside, beware. But anyway, we're going to get it from inside that way. It's kind of a tough job to do. You'll see later because the way the frame is built inside. Speakers, I've already took one of the nasty covers off here, as you can see, and there's the famous KLH 10-inch. These are great. They're absolutely gorgeous condition. Nothing wrong with those. But there's capacitors in there. There's crossover caps. We got to get to them. Sometimes you can get to them by just taking the tweeter out, which is not a big seal like this guy is. I really hate breaking that seal, but you have to do it because those caps are so old. But we'll start with the tweeter right here, and hopefully we can reach in there and get the cap to replace. Same again, there's the inputs right there. As you can see, the stands will just go there. Same thing on these guys. We're going to take the top off. We'll see about the sides, see how good they clean up, but the top surface definitely got to come off because they got to match this one, and this one needs it. All right, more to come. Okay, because we're going to flip this up on its side to get all this stuff out, we're going to take the lid off. We're going to take the lid off anyway because we are sanding it down. Because when you lay it on this side, this is a really nice lid hinge spring. It'll flip up on you, and you'll put it on this side, and then that'll flip open. So we're going to get that off so we can get this baby up on its side and that panel off. Okay, we've got all the screws out for the moment of truth. Let's see what's in here. Grab this. There'll be speaker wires attached there. But all right. And there's the famed schematic that KLH always put on, usually on the bottom, but this one's on the side. You'll see it's on the bottom of their record players. But yeah, there she is. Bit of dust. Oh, it's amazing what you find in these things. That is a tool that I'm really not too sure what it does. Is that a KLH tool? Because you know KLH also supplied, if I go over here, when you bought a KLH, you got this guy, and you put, this is a tracking weight device. I'll show you that later on the record player, but you put coins here, and then the needle tip on there, on the tone arm, and it would help you do your tracking weight. That was usually came with every KLH player. This guy, not seen before, but I'm intrigued, because if it comes with the KLH, it's a bit of a find, because I've never seen one. All right, we got bugs and dust and stuff, but it looks untampered with at the moment. These cables usually rest in here. They've come out. But yeah, I'm pleased so far because a previous expert has not been in here yet, I believe, but we'll see about that. All right, more to come. Okay, to get the turntable out, you're gonna pull this guy, which is power. You got the audio out, right and left, or left and right, and then you've got the clips. There's one there, and there's one up there. You're gonna have to push the turntable in from the other side while you undo the clips, and then take the whole thing out. We're also gonna take this guy off. This is the power panel and the audio output, because we don't want to break those rivets. So rather than, you know, cut wires and what have you, we just take this whole panel out here. It'll just come off and it'll stay with the chassis. All right. Okay, we got the turntable out. We'll talk about this in depth later. But now we're going to talk about getting the chassis out. I'm sure people can do this in situ, but I don't think you get to do a proper job. This panel right here, I already took off. That comes off because that supports with this deteriorated foam. We'll put new stuff on there. The 45 adapter from the top, as you can see, and it sits on the foam. And the idea is that when you take the lid off, the foam pushes it up. So we'll get some foam for that. It's a little bit of toilet roll holder right there. That comes out too. And now you can see that I've numbered these guys all around. The reason that is because these are wedges with screws. The screws, if you can see there, go through the wedge into the body of the unit, and each one was put in specifically for this unit and this chassis. So if you mix them all up, you're going to be in trouble when you put it back together. So number them, and then when you go back the chassis back in, because it's a tight fit, it's a snug fit. This is like every KLH out there. They're all like this, whether it's a Model 24, Model 11, or a Model 25. They're pretty much the same when they've got a radio, if you know what I mean. All right, we're going to take these screws out now. They're all hidden, tucked away in there. This guy's got to come out. These big guys are going to come out before we can get the screws out. But anyway, and then we're going to take the chassis out. Oh, but before that, I forgot to tell you, see these screws here? 1, 2, 3, there's a couple more. These are black screws. You got to take those out very gently because they hold on this faceplate. So obviously the knobs have got to come off. Everything pulls out. So this faceplate doesn't get damaged when you pull from here. So be very careful because it's metal in plastics, holes if you know, metal screws, but they've got to come off. So I'd probably go do that first, take the knobs off and get the plate off before you take the chassis off. All right. Well, that's disappointing. Do you remember I told you about those screws being through plastic? Well, I took the knobs off and it's literally just, I took the knobs off and it just literally fell out. So they'd already broken, probably from travel or stress or over tightening. But yeah, every single one had come away, as you can see. But that's okay, because we're gonna take them out and we're gonna JB weld them and we're gonna make it all better. Because otherwise it's just sat there with the knobs holding it on, if you know what I mean. But we'll fix it, because that's what we do. Okay, so we removed all the wedges, also what support the chassis within the box. Also, now it's time to remove the other chassis mounts, which are right here. This panel, the baseboard, is actually held in place when the box is manufactured, so it's kind of trapped. But this has some separation, so I can probably get mine out to do some repairs, as you can see, but we'll address that. But yeah, time to get these screws out now, and then the chassis will fall out if you don't have your hand on it. Okay, there she is, she's out. As you can see, all these rubberized mounts just snapped off from that faceplate. But like I said, we'll JB them on. This is normally captive, like I said, but because we have this separation issue, which I'm going to fix from the inside, hopefully, this should pop out, and that is your faceplate. So obviously that's got to get cleaned up and go back in before I try and fix this here. This was the light hookup, which went to these guys right here. But yeah, so far so good. We'll crack on. Okay, so we're going to address that separation. Kind of hard to show you with one hand, but basically this is just I believe a glue fit. This was probably pressure sealed back in the day, but I can't see any staples or screws anywhere. So with this separation, I'm going to have to put some new glue in, but it's also the wood has flexed slightly, so the glue won't hold it all the way. So I'm going to put some glue in there. I'll then use these clamps, but eventually I'm going to put a screw, an antique copper looking screw. It's like a dark brown. You'll see when I'm finished, to hold that in place. That's all I can do. And I'll probably match the other side as well so it doesn't look egregious, but be hardly noticeable from the front. But that's the only way I can make this thing hold properly, because it's supporting quite a bit of weight with the chassis in there. All right, wish me luck. Okay, we got some glue in there, as you can see. That'll clean up later. And then we've got the clamps on to hold in place while it dries. And I don't think the glue will ever hold it. I think it'll split open again, because I think the wood is slightly, not warped, but what's the word for it? Aged, so it doesn't want to stay together. So I am going to put some screws in here. I know it's ruining the cabinet, but there's no other way. You can't really do it from the inside. I already looked, because it's got a bite from here, or it's got a bite from here. That's the front. We don't want that. So I'm going to use these antiqued countersunks. These are too short. I'm going to go with some longer ones, but I'll use some of those. They'll be countersunk. They'll never be seen from the front. And by the time I've done it, it'll look factory. It ain't, but it's better. It's old stuff. We got to make it strong and good, if you know what I mean. As you can see, I did put that back in because it's now trapped, the baseboard. All right, stay tuned. Okay, well, I decided those screws were long enough. They're like just over a quarter, 1 1/4. So yes, we are now, as you can see, because of the relief, there's plenty of room for that to bite. So when you drill your hole, it's a good idea to do a little counter sunk, because as you can see right there, because otherwise if you do push that screw in without the counter sunk, it will bust the veneer, it'll bend it and it'll look weird, and we don't like weird. The other good thing about using these as well is it's actually what they used on the hinges and stuff. So if you do see a screw, for the uninitiated, it'll be hard to tell that it's not even supposed to be there. But it's stronger and it's better, and we love that. Okay, the chassis. As you can see, I've clamped it to my little work table here. You can just screw it straight in if you want, but I want to put screw holes into this and then use one of my other clamps right there. That makes it firm to work on. Okay, so it's all boards. It's all connected with wires. So here we've got the power board, MPX board, tone board, preamp, and then 2 outputs. Obviously we'll spin it over to get to those guys. I highly, filter caps right there. Highly recommend that you take lots of good photographs, because you have to remove any wires. You'll be in trouble if you don't get them back in the right place. They're all screwed down. The screws are captive, which is nice. This one you can do in situ, as you can see, but they're all captive retainers, no nuts that you have to fiddle around with. That's the nice part. But it is a bit of a fiddly job. It's all packed in there, and the wires will not stretch enough sometimes for you to move it around. Anyway, if I come up across any real difficulties, I'll try and video it for you, but I think it's kind of no reason for you to watch me do all the fiddly bits, because you'll just fast forward through it. All right, we're going to start with this guy, power supply. Okay, so we did those 4 screws and got the power supply up. Fortunately, didn't have to remove any wires. I was able to just bend it backwards, put a little support underneath it. That's actually a reel-to-reel holder. It's holding my power board. Now, I like to mark stuff just for the hell of it, even though the caps all have their plus and minus signs, if you can see in there. But when I take them off, it'd be nice to make sure I have a good memory and also take pictures, so which is the plus and minus side. Now, this is a germanium output. There they are, germanium output. So that means it's a positive ground system. As you can see, where is it? Right there on the schematic. So anyway, it's always good to remind yourself of that when you're putting stuff back together. But anyway, I'm going to break these tabs, break these wires and break these tabs and pull these guys out. This one is soldered directly to the board, but these are mounted because they're larger. And we're going to put smaller stuff in there, but the same capacitance, same voltage, but it'll be held in quite as nicely. All right. Okay, so we disconnected, bent those tabs right there, and pulled them out. Always amazes me how the new replacements are literally a third of the size of the originals. That's technology for you. But yeah, all these are new caps. We'll get this guy out. But because that hole is too big to mount this guy, let me show you. As you can see, it just falls right through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of this phenolic plate stuff, and I'm going to glue that to the other side, so that then this can mount to this, or this can mount to this and not fall through the hole, and then it'll look like a pro job, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to get busy soldering and what have you, and I'll show you the finished board. Okay, the new power supply is recapped and ready to go. A little bit of modifications there to make it compact and bijou, if you know what I mean. And next we're going to do the filter caps. The 1500s, 25s I believe, and we're going to replace them with these guys. These are 35s, but as you can see, they're a quarter of the size, so they'll probably just be hanging, if you know what I mean, and a bit of hot glue. But yeah, we're going to stick those in next. Oh, you remember that tool thing that fell out, which I was hoping was going to be some kind of cool record player tool thing? Well, I did a Google image search, and it's a Delta Faucet tool. Yeah, it's for plumbing. It's amazing what you find in these things. Anyway, more to come. Okay, the output boards. We got left and right channel here. So this is the one with the bad transistor on. And as you can see, not easy to test because all the legs have insulation. So I'm going to remove it and try and turn it over so I can try and test it from the other side. But if there's any danger of these wires hitting the chassis here, that'd be a big bad thing. So I might have to remove the board and then remove each transistor to test it individually, which is a real pain. But that's KLH for you. Everything's kind of jammed in there. And another thing, it's interesting to note, almost every capacitor, even some of the transistors, are different manufacturers. So it just shows that these things came off the shelf and they just put them in because they were built with different manufactured components. All right, wish me luck. Okay, we've come up with quite the rig, Jesus, to keep this thing upright, because I didn't want to screw this into this. So mounted it to wood, clamps, and I had to hang it over so we get power to it so I could check this. The wires were forgiving. I got the foam here underneath that was here when it was mounted. This to steady it so we can check the voltages. Now ultimately it will come off. I'll take this all off to do the capacitors. But I really don't want to bust every single transistor solder, because you're just going to introduce heat again and again, taking it off, putting it on. So I'd really like to test it in situ. We'll see how we do with that, with the voltages. But first I will do these guys. They're easy to get to. They're on the tone board. So they are drivers right there. And I'd be so lucky if it's this guy, which is the right channel. But anyway, we'll do some testing. We'll get the meter out, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. So even though I checked, had this up on its side, I checked the voltages. It was pretty damn tricky. Everything was kind of lining up. So I decided to take the board out, because I was taking it anyway to recap it. As you've seen, it's been recapped. I took the board off, and then I just checked the transistors on the board with this precision transistor tester, and we did find that this one was the NG one. It has some NOS one, new old stock, so put it in. Sounds great. But now we have another leaky transistor, which is from the preamp section, because it's actually volume controlled. It's revealed one in here. So we're now going to get this off, you have to take the tone board off, which is attached to all the bass, treble, and volume. It's pretty simple to take off. As you can see, it's all those nuts right there. And then it's not too many cables. Like I said, take photographs, but this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. The great thing is they're very well color coded. So we're going to take this off to then get that off, so we can find the transistor that's leaking and recap it as well. All right, fun times. Okay, so tone board is out. All those caps will be replaced. I had to replace this transistor because when I moved it, it snapped one of the legs. C'est la vie, right? And there's a preamp board. This one's a bit of a bear. It's kind of buried in there, and there's a crap load of wires. Take plenty of photographs, markings. I've done some photographs and some Sharpie markings, but I'm going to try and get this one done, test those transistors, and you can already see down there, look, that's leaking. So they're all going to be replaced, and I want to get it back in. Even though I've got photographs, I want to be completely within my brain, my mind, my memory, get those cables back in the right place. Otherwise it's going to be nightmares. All right, wish me luck. Okay, I want to take a bit of a moment here and reevaluate the whole testing process, because I'm kind of contradicting myself a bit, because trying to test this in circuit is nigh on impossible, because if you remember the previous cut, you'll remember this was up against the wall like that, very tight, and even you couldn't even get it off hanging on the wires. So took lots of photographs and got it off. Then now you've got no power to it, so using a DM meter to check voltages of these guys is nigh on impossible, because they put these sleeves, this it's almost like shrink tubing but plastic insulators on every leg, so you can't even get to the transistor leg itself to check voltages and resistances and what have you. So this was coming out anyway to do a recap. So what I've been doing is I've been using the BK520B transistor tester to try and find out that leaky transistor, because once this goes back in, it ain't coming out again, if you know what I mean. So it's got to be done now, because it's a nightmare getting it in and out. This unit is pretty damn cool. It's an in and out circuit transistor tester. Turn it on. Now I'm not going to go into the whole how this thing works, because you can read that on Google and what have you, but it basically tests your transistors, and right now you're supposed to move this thing up and down, and it's a good, no good, and you're only supposed to get one signal like that. If you get two, that's no good in the low drive. You could also put that over, and it'll give you the leakage and gain indications. So that's what I've been doing. So I just thought I'd take a break, share that with you. The preamp board, like I said, is a pain to get to, but we had leaky caps on there visually. So yeah, onwards and upwards. All right, we are all done, recapped and ready to go. 2 output boards, preamp and the tone board. Now the tone board, 2 of the transistors, germaniums, started to go south. So replace those with some RCA, NOS RCA ones. This happens after recap. Sometimes these new caps components tax old stuff, if you know what I'm saying, that it can't keep up. It's got, you know, correct voltages and resistances, and then they start to fail, especially old germanium transistors. Also, one of these on this output port, the right channel, actually shorted and blew these guys. These are the output transistors right here, big germaniums. These are NOS ones that I got, but these guys popped. So there you go. She's all good now, sounds amazing. KLHs can be tricky. When they're working great, they sound amazing, but when they're not, they can be tricky to diagnose and to fix. But this guy is good to go. All right, we shall continue. Okay, time for some woodwork. Now, I've already sanded the top down. As you can see, it came out very nicely. It was beat up before. The front panel, not so easy because it's smaller surface area, and using an orbital on it can really get the edges done first. We don't want that. So I'm trying this Citri strip stuff. Never used it. I've always done the sanding thing, but because it's such a small area and I really don't want to mess it up, we're going to try that. Meanwhile, here we are with some speaker boxes, the Model 20 Plus speaker boxes. Now the sides were pretty good, but we are doing the top. We talked about woodwork before, but yeah, so we'll crack on with that and I'll show you the finished result. Okay, so this stuff has been on for about an hour. I'm not a big fan of chemical stripping, so I think it's just messy. And when you're not doing the sides, you gotta be really careful so it doesn't get on other areas that you don't want stripped. Anyway, we've got this plastic unit from Lowe's, and I'm gonna take a little bit off. See how it looks. Well, it appears to have taken off the varnish, but the stain is still there, but that's okay because I could sand that down way easier than getting the varnish off. The varnish is always or the lacquer, whatever, the shellac, whatever they use, is always the hard stuff. So I'll take that as a win, and then gotta let this dry before I sand again and get the rest of it off. All right. Okay, so completely sanded. Not really a fan of the Citri strip. It did get the varnish off a little bit, but then it darkened the wood slightly. I had to do more sanding, and anyway, but it's all good. It came out well. Speakers are there, same thing. Top's all done, so we'll stain and poly. We'll get to those in there eventually. But yeah, there's the top. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Okay, the Tulip stands. This is what it's all about. Those Model 20 Plus Tulip stands. So freaking hard to come by. Anyway, as you can see, this one, very dirty. Give it a clean with some simple green and it came out like this. A lot better, but then we went with cleaner wax, and for the harder spots, we went with some polishing compound. And yeah, nice little sheen there. Use this drill bit here with a soft end polishing cloth to get that sheen right there. But yeah, way better than this. Stuffed in a garage for for years. Anyway, I'm going to mount the speakers on these stands to work on them. It'll make everything just a bit easier. And yeah, cracking on. Okay, Model 20 speakers. Do you remember when I said maybe I can go through there to get to the cap? Well, I did some research. I think that's going to be pretty impossible because it's all the way over there mounted on that plate, which is only accessible from the inside. It's stapled in, which is a bit of a shame because I really don't want to bust this seal, but I have to get that cap out. That crossover has got to be replaced. So we're going to take the screws out, break the seal, lift the speaker out very gently, and place the cap and continue on. Okay, we've got that speaker out, as you can tell from the gaping hole. This stuff, very hard and rock hard, kind of not very much pliable. So we're going to replace that with something else. We'll get to that. I've got the video light on because we're going exploring. So in here is this stuff, foam, and I'm sure it's carcinogenic. But anyway, we're going to pull this out gently. Try not to get as much of the crap dust in the air as possible. They just shoved it in there, didn't they? Yeah, it's just loosely packed. It's a cavern of stuff. All right, so we just slowly bring this out. Probably should put that in a bag to stop all the fine particles. And there she is, down in there. Pull a bit more out. Right there. And as you see, it's stapled in. I wish they'd made that mounted from the bottom with screws, but anyway. So I got to relieve that of its capacitor and clean that switch as well. Not sure what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it, but anyway, stay tuned. So while I was thinking of how I'm going to do this, I started rooting around for the other cap for the tweeter, which is up there, but it's not up there. That's supposed to be an 8UF. After a bit more digging around, look what I found. Yep, somebody replaced it. I don't know if that's focused, but it's a 4.7, so that's wrong. So anyway, it's always interesting what people get up to, if you know what I mean. The other one actually does have its 8 in there. Anyway, I'm probably going to snip these off and try and reach in there with the solder irons. This one's easy to get at. A little shorter on the cables there, but I'll put longer cables on the new one. But that's what I'm going to do, very carefully. I don't want to break this. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. All right. All right, we've got the new caps in there. This was a royal pain in the A. There's not a lot of room to get your both hands in there and a soldering iron and what have you. God knows what I was thinking I was going to go through there. Anyway, yeah, so a lot of shrink tubing, some wire nuts there, which are original. There's the 8, the 2 2s. Use the original bracket, another mount here to keep it steady, and a bit of hot glue. Yeah, I know, hot glue, really? Well, it's painter's tape around here held them before, and that had all fallen apart, so that's way better. Yeah, it wasn't easy, a little tricky. We'll get this guy in now. As you can see, we've got the new butyl sealer. I'm not sure where I got it from. I think I got it from Parts Express, but anyway, that's on there. We'll get that guy, put the foam in, don't forget, and then we'll get that guy back in there, and we'll test it. I'm pretty confident it'll sound awesome. Oh yeah, put this painter's tape here, masking tape, because when you try to put this in, I guarantee you that edge will nick this edge and leave a mark on your woodwork. All right, now for the next one. Okay, the record changer. I know previously I called this an AT6 or an AT60 because it's very similar by Garrard, but after doing some more research, it's either an AT5 or a Model 3000, depending on what internet site you go to. It might be doing something with this head shell here. But anyway, we're going to service it. I've done a bunch of these. This is the typical Garrard Platter clip. Rarely do you actually need them to be on there, and I'm not sure what the brilliant design was, but they're sometimes a bugger to get off and then they bend. So lifting the platter off, there you have it. And it's very BSR-like. Even when you flip it over, it reminds me of a BSR. That reminds me of a BSR. So which came first, the Garrard or the BSR? Not too sure. But the main fault with these guys is this cycling cam. As you can see, it's very stiff already. And that's because this piece of metal galls and sticks to the glue, whatever it is, on the pivot point there, and gets very hard to get off. That's the first thing we're going to address, and it might need some heat. So we pop off this clip that keeps it in place, and I don't know if you can see, but it's all old grease that's turned to glue, and it's actually spinning the shaft itself. What you can do is you can get a soldering iron and just leave it on this for a good 10 to 15 minutes, and it'll eventually heat this up and you can pull it off. Or a little bit of heat. Now, that's a bit of flame-proof cloth, which I use sometimes on tube work. We're going to put that there. Then we're going to just slowly give that a little heat up. Because waiting 10 minutes for a soldering iron is not how I roll. Boom, off she comes. Now, yeah, you see all that gunky grease? And it's more like glue now, it's like a paste. All in here. That's got to be cleaned off and re-lubed with good lithium stuff. But yeah, there you go. Right, with that off, now you can get to the bearing, the platter bearing, because it's trapped by the cycle cam. And yeah, we got to get all that gunk out there as well. So we'll take all that off because we're going to clean it. Now the rubber on these is remarkably good. I've yet to replace motor mounts on one of these guys because they are still really nice and pliable and soft and firm. As is the idler wheels. The idler wheels, whatever product they use, whatever product, lasts a lifetime almost. This we are going to refresh. I'll show you what I do. But because it is nice and pliable, we just need to rough this edge up. So we're going to take that off, because it needs to be cleaned anyway. If I can get the right screwdriver in there. There we go. And there are little kind of fiber washers for spacing. So we'll take that off. And yeah, it's pretty good, but we're gonna rough this edge up, and I'll show you what I do. But you can only really do it when it's kind of pliable like this, which is 9 times out of 10 these guys are, which is nice. Same fiber washer there. We've got the motor, we got to drop some oil in there, but basically we got to clean all this gack off on this, here, here, and here, and put fresh lithium on. You get this guy out the way. And let me wipe that off because we are going to clean it later. Yeah, take note of how dirty this thing is. It's going to look pretty damn good later. Right, that's all secure, and we do a flip over. Hopefully that landed in the image correctly. And there you go. Just reminds me of BSR. So similar. But anyway, to get oil in there, you're gonna have to take this guy off. There's no real oil point. I think it might have been there on the day. You can kind of go in there upside down, but we're gonna take this off because we want to clean the armature spindle anyway. And then we've got to start removing this reject arm here for the record, sorry, the record push off. What do you call that? Anyway, that's got to come off. So now's a good time to take a photo if you're doing this. Obviously I have a video, but take a photo because there are springs and there are clips that all have to go back in the right place. We've got the speed control right here. That doesn't have to come off, but where is it? There it is. That's the auto, sorry. That's pretty damn stiff, but this is all got to get cleaned and re-greased, but that's basically your speed selector. And then you have the function arm right there, the relay switch in there. It's not really a relay per se, it's a contact switch, but anyway, that's in there. That's got to get cleaned out. But yeah, I'm going to start taking some of this stuff off, and you can watch me. Okay, off with that. This can actually just kind of hang there because it's attached with a spring. So it can hang there. And then you got these clips, boom, boom. Place them in relation to the way they come off. If I can get this guy off here. There's one. And there's two. All right, so this is the, forget what you actually call it, but this is makes the tone arm rise. So it moves across, and then this bridge here pushes the tone arm up and down. You just get it off, you just pull that, and then lever it off. And there you go. More gunk and stuff. That's really the only piece you've got to take off this, because now you can get to everything for cleaning. So with, I use acetone and Q-tips and what have you, give this all a really nice good clean. All right, with the cleaning now done, we're going to do a little bit of greasing. First of all, I want to point out something to you right now. Don't grease this. This is the, you wax it. This is the tone arm last record reject. You won't do it right now, that's in the way. But that pushes the reject, so when the tone arm moves at the end of the record. It's supposed to be a little bit of friction there, so it's metal on metal. Don't grease it. But the other side, there will be a little bit of grease. I'll show you that part. But yeah, now we've done that, sorry, the cleaning, we can do a little bit of greasing. The stuff needs to go around here. And as always, less is more. This baby, you just put a little like slime on there. Goes on there like that. Let me attach the tone arm so it doesn't flop around. There we go. All right, so that goes on there. Less is more, always with these things that I find. So that goes there. Did I get that in the right place? I think I did. Because we've got that one, that one, that one. And then All right, this is the tricky part because we've got to get, oops, almost forgot, we've got to get this guy kind of hooked in. So do some there, and a little bit there. So this is where the tone arm rise and fall tracks, as you can see, play mode, up and down. All right. So, this is the tricky part because we've got to get it in and push that down. Oops, almost got it. I've got the other thing in the wrong place. That's got to go over there. And we push that down, and voila! As you can see, do you have my head in the shop? Hopefully not, but there we go. We're in position, and we just got to put those clips back in as they came off. One. Oh, what happened there? There we go. And then we get this guy in there. Snap. Snap. All right. This is good. Good. All right. So then we have the arm over, which goes on there. That's got to go into there. We've got to put a bit of grease there, but we'll put some here. Around that. This is the record push-off arm. Get that back on there. Get that there. Did I put some on there? Yeah, I got that there, good. And then we get our spring, which is going to go in there, and then clip on there. Voila. We'll put a little bit around there. I think that was for another version where it separated the contacts so that when the record was changing, it would mute, so you wouldn't hear tone when it was changing records. But I think that's what was for. All right, let's do the motor. All right, the motor. You don't have to take the whole thing off because you can get oil in the top, but we are going to try. Ooh, here we go. That one's tight. And this is due to heat, on and off, on and off. Got that one off, good. Let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. Nope, he's not one I'm gonna come. Let me try another trick. It's called torque. So I got this big, nice, long thing. And sometimes when you go longer, you get more torque. Nope, not coming off. All right, let's break that one because, let's make a cut. Because this is definitely going to be heat soldered. Because if you bust that thread right there, you're not going to get it out, and we don't want to do that. Wear it down. I forget what you call it when you know what I mean, when you bust it out. So we're going to put a bit of heat there, which is solder, not that gun, because obviously it would melt all that wires. But we got to get that off to get this off. All right. All right, so we've got a 60-watt soldering iron here. This is what I use for heating stuff up, sensitive stuff near cables. That's going to rest on there. It's going to take a good 10 minutes to get some heat in there and break that thread, which is heat sealed from the motor going on and off, and repeating myself. But anyway, we'll get that going. Meanwhile, the cycle cam. We're just going to clean this up. Also, this unit, this is part of the reject system. As you can see, it is tight, very, very stiff. Oh, grease. Very, very stiff. And we've got to take this clip off. Remember how it goes on? And then we've got to pull it off to clean it, because this has got to be absolutely free moving, because as the record comes to its end, this is what pushes the platter gear into action, which turns this guy to get the record off, basically complete the cycle. So that's got to be free moving. It's a clip, bracket, and then a washer. So remember how they go together, all right? Well, this might be in the need of some heat. Let's get this off. Oh, let's pull that off there. There we go. And then there's another clip. I thought it was a washer, but it's a clip. Goes there. And then, as you can see, that is welded together as well with that glue. So we're going to heat that guy up as well to get it off. Wow, yeah, that is on there. Okay, so more heat. We'll do it with this thing. Oh, no, you know what? Maybe I get the big gun out. Yeah, be quicker. There we go. It just moved. I'm gonna do this without burning myself. And we're off. All right. More cleaning. All right, that's been on there for a good 10 minutes, if not more. So let's put that there, turn it off, and see if we can get this sucker off. Where did I do that screwdriver? Oh, you know what? Let me go big and do torque. Nope, not gonna shift. Nope. Not gonna shift. We're gonna do heat down at the bottom section now. Okay, so that's been in there for 10-15 minutes. Closer to the thread, so hopefully that'll do it. Got my other glasses on. So let's see if we get lucky here. I'll use the big unit once again for more torque. No, it's not. Wants to shift. This is not good. This is not good at all. Let me try in there again. There it goes, yes. Torque over horsepower. All right, I'm not gonna touch that because it's really hot, but we'll take that guy out. Got that there. We'll grab this right here because it's hot. Put it in there, and then we'll, ooh, everything's hot. Anyway, oh yeah, don't forget that, ball bearing. Jesus, right in there is a ball bearing. That's what makes these motors really nice, forgot about that. Usually they just stick in there because there's dirt of the oil, but this one's heated up so it fell out. But yes, don't forget the ball bearing. Okay, so we got that off, and we are going to clean right here, and we're going to clean in there and get all the old oil out. And then we're going to use this stuff, which is 3-in-1 electrical motor oil, and we are going to put a little bit of oil, if you can see, down in there and in there, and that'll wet the pad that's in there, and we'll drop a bit in there, on there, and then we'll drop the ball bearing back, and it will stick with the oil. So when you put it back on, it won't drop out. So because it popped out, it was pretty damn dry. Yeah, and then it's the reverse of everything else, but without a soldering iron. All right. Okay, now that you oiled the underside of the armature of the motor, right in there is where you oil the top side. There's no need to take the motor apart. This one spins gorgeously, as you can see. But yeah, get a bit of oil in there to wet the felt. Also, this is the pivot point for the cycle cam. A lot of dirt gets in these grooves, so you're gonna have to scrape it out. I use one of these. It's a dental implement, and you're gonna get in there and scrape all that crap out. I don't know what they used, but there wasn't definitely somebody did a service, but it was like freaking clay. This here is the tone arm, pushes this over to reject the record at the end of the track. You can see it's on a fiber nylon channel right there, which it rides on. Don't put grease in there, it sticks. But you can dab a tiny little bit of oil, just a smidge of oil, no grease. We are going to slap grease on this. We're going to slap grease on that. That rides inside there. As you see, we've all cleaned that, and it's now moving. He tries to do that one hand, as you can see, right there. Moves nicely, but that channel is where that rests in there. So when you put this on, you kind of have to wiggle it around so it drops into the channel, if you know what I mean. All right. Oh, remember that pivot point right there, that post? That was so crapped up with that stuff they put on there. It's like clay. You might want to use a bit of emery to clean it off, or if you're like me, whenever you get the chance, use a power tool. All right, nice and slick. We're gonna put a bunch of this on there. We're also gonna slap some on there, especially on this running edge right there. And like I said before, just a dab of oil. I mean, literally a dab. Nice. All right, we're not gonna put the cam on yet, because you'll do this only once. You'll put the cam on and then realize you gotta put the bearing on. So we're gonna clean that out next, get that loaded with grease, slap it on, and then put the cam on. Okay, we've got our bearing loaded with lithium. We put the bottom washer on, drop that guy on top. We clean this guy. He goes on top like that. We do put a splash of this ready for the platter. That's about it. And then we go with the cycle cam. And remember what I said before about getting that thing. And what you can do is you can get your hand underneath, I think. Where is it? There it is. And you can kind of move it into place if you have to. So this goes on here. Get in the right spot, and there we go, it's on. And look how nice and free that is. Before you could hardly turn it. That guy's moving nicely. So yeah, put your clip back on right there. He says, boom. Okay, so that's that. That's basically the transport movement done. We're now going to move to the idler wheel, We're going to clean this, clean it well. We're then going to clean inside there, same thing. Just a drop of oil on here, no grease, just a drop of oil. That's a bronze bushing, so it heats up. Grease will just clog it up. So a little bit of oil, but meantime, I'm gonna rough this edge up and clean this guy up and show you what I do. Okay, the idler wheel. As you can see here, I have it mounted in a nice portable drill. And it's basically mounted in an arbor, which is like this. I have different sizes for different wheels with washers and nuts. And I basically clamp it in there. And then with this is 320 grit, very, very slowly, just take it away and rough that edge up. Not too fast, because you don't want it smooth. You want it nice and little rough, because rough means it's got tread and it'll grip. Oh yeah, that feels great. Then you get a little bit of acetone or alcohol, whatever your tipple is. And yeah, now we got a nice semi-rough edge, and that'll give you some grip. Now you can only do that when this is nice and pliable, but that could save you $30 plus shipping sending it to Gary, who does a fabulous job, by the way. I sent a lot of wheels to him. But with these guys, you can do it yourself, and you're good to go. Okay, with the idler wheel on there, kind of hard to spin it, but you know what, I get the idea. Forgot to mention, give this guy a clean. This is the record armrest, and you see that there. They need to slide up and down. So clean this, and then clean it here, and give it a bit of oil, not grease, a little bit of oil. And then that'll move up and down nicely and slap down. Tone arm, basically give it a good clean in there. Then what I do is I spray a little bit, I'm trying to keep this up with one hand, oh God, there we go. I spray a little bit of WD down in there, but that needs a clean as well. Okay, with this being almost done, we just got to finish off the platter. You got to clean down in here the bronze bushing area. Then I put a light grease around this edge, because this is the edge that sits on that washer of the bearing right there. And also, don't forget to clean inside the platter. This is where the idler wheel drives. It's supposed to be nice and clean and dry, because you need grip. So be careful what you use. I just give it a very light rub with alcohol on that surface. Hey, so while rechecking my work before I powered up and did testing and everything, I just realized I put this on backwards. So we'll take this spring off, say backwards, I put it on upside down, because I put the spindle in from the upside, from the other side, and it wouldn't go in properly. And I went, that's interesting. Why is that? And that's because I made a mistake. So I want to correct it with you watching, so that you don't do it. We're going to take that out because it's upside down. But yeah, this guy has to rest inside that, and there needs to be a little bit of grease in there. Just bear with me. But yeah, I popped it on upside down because I was too busy yakking. And the spindle, record spindle, would not go in. So, easy done, especially when you're yakking. All right, so we're gonna turn that over, put that on there like that, and now we are correct. So that will be on the inside of that guy. Spring will now go in here. That'll rest on there, and that'll go in there like that. All right, now we are correct. All right, there she is. She cleaned up quite nicely. That's a nice white now. Cleaned up all very, very nicely around here. Be careful on this lettering. Don't use anything too abrasive, just very, very mild detergent, because the lettering will rub off. How do I know that? Anyway, let's give her a whirl. Hopefully everything's put together correctly there. That spindle went in properly, but here we go. All right, very nice, very happy with that. Obviously no music because we got it hooked up, but we'll play her later. All right, more to come. Alrighty then, she's all done. KLH Model 20 Plus with the iconic tulip stands. These actually go missing a lot. I've seen tons of these, not tons, but quite a few of these boxes, and the legs go missing because somebody had a great idea of taking them off and putting plants or something stupid on them. Anyway, this guy is complete. New grill cloth right there, a Acoustone. Some shiny new wood, some nice satin wood. Yeah, one of my favorites. KLHs can be tricky. They pack a lot of stuff in a small space. It also packs a lot of punch audio-wise. But when you get it done right, that's a great sounding and looking unit. All right, thanks for watching. We'll do it again.